Why does a law text drop a name, and refuse to define it? Why does one goat die, while the other is sent away alive? Leviticus 16 lays out the Day of Atonement like a procedure. 2 goats stand at the sanctuary. Lots are cast. One is, for the Lord. The other is, for Azazel. The first goat is killed, and its blood is used in a purification rite deep inside, curtain, altar, inner room. But the second goat stays breathing. And the priest does something you can see in your head. He places both hands on its skull and speaks the community's wrongs over it. Not a vague prayer, a transfer. The goat becomes a moving container. Then a designated escort takes it out. Not wanders off. Taken. Past the last tents, beyond the edge where people stop naming landmarks, into the wilderness, until it disappears from sight. Here's the first tension. The ritual is painfully specific, but the word Azazel is not. No introduction. No, this is a demon. No, this is a cliff. Just a label that points outward. So what is the text really doing with that word? Is it naming a being at the boundary, or naming the boundary itself? Notice the map Leviticus draws without explaining it. Inside, impurity is handled, blood is controlled, the sanctuary is reset. Outside, the burden is exported. And that raises a sharper hook. If this is only symbolism, why does the escort have to wash afterward, as if contact with the goat can cling like contamination? Hold that washing detail. It becomes a hinge. Because later writers will look at this same ritual and say, you're not just sending guilt away, you're sending it back to someone. Second tension, Leviticus never treats the live goat like an offering. No altar. No smoke. No pleasing aroma. It's a removal operation. That's why the name matters. Azazel appears as if the audience already knows it. But the text won't tell us whether it's a who, a where, or a what. Even the symmetry is provocative. 1 lot, for the Lord, 1 lot, for Azazel. Parallel wording can sound like 2 recipients, yet the ritual action doesn't look like worship. 3 readings compete. 1 a personal name, a wilderness entity that receives what the camp expels. 2 a place name, a harsh, cut-off region, the goat is sent to the outside, full stop. 3 a ritual term, the goat of complete removal, guilt pushed out until it's gone. Here's another hook, the ritual uses lots, like randomness under law. The community doesn't pick which goat lives. The boundary decision is cast, not negotiated. And the wilderness isn't neutral in biblical imagination. It's the zone where order thins. Later texts speak of beings linked to wild places, Sirim, Shidim, creatures that don't belong inside the camp. That doesn't prove Azazel is one of them, but it explains why the word feels charged. The washing rule keeps nagging too. The escort must wash, and the one who handles the remains must wash. Leviticus treats impurity like a substance that transfers. So the scapegoat isn't theater. It's a moving boundary marker. This stays out there, not in here. Now watch what happens when interpreters get impatient with silence. If you believe evil has an author, you'll want a receiver. If you believe sin must go somewhere, you'll want a destination. And if you live in an age obsessed with rebellious angels, you'll turn the label into a character. That's the problem, and the payoff. Later stories about Azazel can feel ancient, but they're answers built on top of a ritual that never gave them. Now the later layer, the one most people picture first. In some Second Temple writings, Azazel becomes a person, not a label. One famous tradition casts him as a rebellious angel blamed for teaching humans what they shouldn't know: warfare, corruption, seductive arts. In that storyline, Azazel isn't the wilderness, he's the reason the wilderness feels morally haunted. And the geography snaps into focus, he's bound, thrown into a desert pit, covered in rough stones, kept in darkness. Suddenly, Leviticus's silent outside has a prisoner inside it. Other later traditions add a practical fear: the scapegoat must not return. So the ritual becomes more forceful, harder terrain, sharper procedures, symbolic markers like a colored thread. Those details are vivid, and they stick in memory. But they are expansions, not the original script. Here's the key distinction for your brain: Leviticus gives you a boundary technology. Later interpreters give you a villain. And once you have a villain, the story machine starts linking names. Azazel can get pulled into the orbit of Satan, or folded into a general category of fallen angels, especially in later religious imagination. That doesn't mean Leviticus was secretly talking about Satan. It means later readers wanted the ritual to have a face. So what can we responsibly say? Earliest layer, a ritual of removal with a mysterious outward label. Later layer, a character built to explain why removal is needed at all. Next, we'll look at a name that behaves the same way across centuries: Samuel, sometimes an accuser, sometimes a destroyer, sometimes both. Forced choice: when you read Leviticus 16, do you hear Azazel as a real being at the boundary, or as the ritual's name for pushing guilt into the outside? Which fits the text better?